Here we are back with my second part of week 2 review and recap of the fall season of 2023. And let's get started with Freyren episode 5. And in this episode, as our two protagonists are leaving the dwarf's house, we head down to another village where they're being warned that travelers have been disappearing. And on their way, Freyren already has figured out what it is and decides to just try to avoid it. But we're told, no, we should try to deal with this, Freyren. Let's not avoid it. And they end up going and actually taking care of it. It is some sort of a phantom showing people from their past and trying to control them that way. They end up taking it out and continue on their way to the next village. Freyren sees a dragon guarding a nest with a grimoire in it that she wants. They decide to attack the dragon, and seeing that their attack has done next to nothing, they turn tail and run back to the village. From there they hear about Stark, the dwarf's apprentice, which they were just about to start searching for, but he's apparently already called for them. They go over and meet him, find out that he is a bit of a coward. He's never actually fought anything before, but he seems to be pretty strong. So they invite him to go help, and they will eventually, or hopefully, take down the dragon. I would rate this episode an 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it quite well. The Vexations of a Shut-In Vampire Princess, Episode 1. In this episode, we are introduced to Terakamori, the protagonist of this show, and a maid who seems to be teasing her all the time. We are told that Terakamori, her father, had said to the Empress, yeah, she'll join in on the wars. She's brave enough. And now Terakamori has to fight wars repetitively and win. After 100 wins, she can become the next Empress. Or if she continues losing, she will end up dying. We get to see her introduced to her soldiers, who are very rambunctious, and one of them trying to kill her right away, and he ends up dead. She's trying to pretend to be strong in front of everyone, even though she's actually weak. From here we get to see their first battle that they actually win, and she's like, oh yeah, I didn't have to go onto the battlefield myself, because if I did, the battle would have been over in a second. Talking up a big game. But later we get someone interviewing her, an article that's been made about the fight, and we also learn that the soldiers who fight, they come back to life later. In this episode, I would rate it a 6.5 out of 10. Not great, but hopefully next week we'll have a better episode. The Faraway Paladin Season 2 Episode 1. And in this episode, we get to see our Paladin William and B, the Troubadour, as they're traveling to go find a magic academy. On their way there, William notices that the place has been hidden with magic and can cause some side effects if someone tries to force their way in. So he lets B know that they cannot sneak in, but maybe they can go to the front door and gain permission. So as they're trying to get there, B lets him know that Gus, a mage from a long time ago who was very well known and very powerful, struggled to get there on his own and needed help. To William's surprise, because William was taught by Gus. Like, wow, even Gus had troubles getting there. As they get closer, they end up finding an old man sitting in the forest, and he asks them some questions. After answering them, he decides they are worthy and tells them he is the gatekeeper and he will grant them permission. Inside, B goes to the library and starts reading various books, learning about some of the people who had gone to the school. We get to see on their way out, B is talking to him about what she was looking for. Someone from her past, a sorcerer who was not very well known, except in certain areas, but in the areas she was known, this woman was a hero to people. B was hoping to find more information on her, knowing that this woman's already passed away. She wants to tell stories of heroes, sing songs about them. Well, in this episode, I would rate it a 7.5 out of 10. I enjoyed it quite well, and I'm looking forward to next week. A Returner's Magic Should Be Special Episode 1. In this episode, we get to see our hero party facing off against a dragon right away. They end up defeating it and start chatting about what they're going to do now. We also get to hear that a majority of the people that had fought, except for these 6, have passed on trying to defend the world from this plague that is spreading. They have to defeat all these monsters or else there will be no place for humans left. Well, all of a sudden during their conversation, the dragon suddenly starts doing something. All the mana in it seems to be moving around in a weird way, and it's going to explode, taking them all out with it. With this, they try to defend and brace, but there is no hope against something that powerful. We get to see Desir as he just starts thinking about his past and everything that had happened. And then all of a sudden he is standing in front of some glass, seeing a reflection of himself, and realizing he's back at the academy he went to. He sees one of the top people there giving a little speech, a professor giving the speech saying, "Hey, only the top 600 of you that pass this will be accepted into the academy." And after that, Desir's a bit disheartened, thinking that he's now back in the past and those last 10 years were all for nothing. He meets his senpai, who's assigned to him to help him show him around and everything. And on his way over there for the test, he's thinking about it. Maybe he can find someone from his past. He's looking around desperately, and then he sees her. Romantica, the girl from one of his flashbacks who has died. She is alive again. I thought this episode was interesting, and I'd rate it a 7.5 out of 10. Look forward to next week. Spy Family Season 2 Episode 1. In this episode, we get to see Yor taking down some bad guys, and sound of a gunshot for the opening. And then after the opening, we get to see her getting home, and she's not feeling too well. Bullet definitely hit her, and we get Floyd trying to figure out what's wrong here. Well, he thinks he might have done something to upset her, or maybe she's not feeling too happy with the marriage because he's not been taking her on dates or anything or treating her too well. So he decides to the next morning, seeing that she's still upset, take her out on a date. Anya gets has to sit this out and wait while they go on this date. But she decides to tail them all day long, because that seems fun to her. But nothing Lloyd does seems to fix it or make her happy, mainly because she's feeling a lot of pain and she's not telling him what's wrong. But later they get to a restaurant, and one of the guys that was working with the people she took out sees that she's still alive and well, and is trying to finish her off. He squeezes some blowfish poison into a cup and tries to feed it to her, attempting to kill her, and, well, she's a trained assassin that's used to poison, so instead of actually killing her, she ends up no longer feeling the pain from the bullet wound. She's now all of a sudden happy, and Lloyd thinks something's going right, so he's very happy about this. He's uh, having a nice meal with her, and Anya, she's realized this guy is planning on making a bomb, so she goes and stops him, and saying some stuff to him to make him question how much do they know, and giving up on trying to take her out. Back to the couple, they enjoy their meal and head home for the day, and the next morning, well, she's not feeling too well again. The bullet wound pain is back, and, well, Lloyd's just trying to figure out what he can do right. I'd rate this episode a 7.5 out of 10. I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to next week. Ragna Crimson, Episode 2. In this episode, we get to see as another dragon is trying to attack the town, Leo is defending, and Ragna wakes up as he's hearing her get attacked and tries to defend her. He then proceeds to run off towards the main dragon here and take care of them. As he arrives, he sees a maid getting ready to be eaten by the dragon and attacks the dragon. After a second, Leo arrives and starts talking to him, but Ragna notices Crimson and goes, "Hey, are you alright?" And then remembers who Crimson is, and is like, "You're Crimson." Well, Crimson's pretending innocent here. Like, "I'm not." It's like, "Yeah, you're Crimson, you're a guy," like, saying all sorts of things. It's like, "No, obviously, this Crimson's not a guy, they look like a girl," and is also giving a different name, which, Ragna knew the full name of, and started saying it in the middle of, Crimson's speech. But the dragon gets back up. Ragna then proceeds to finish off the dragon, and he tells Leo, "I can't help you out anymore, go on a journey with you anymore, because you are weak and will die." We get to see Ragna interacting some more with Crimson, constantly like, "Okay, yeah, you're saying you're not, but I know you're Crimson," arguing a little bit. And then they head off. After seeing some dragons fly overhead, they're going to attack the soldiers that are leaving the town. Taking care of those dragons, Crimson finally decides, "Okay, fine. I'll work with him, I'll let him know I'm Crimson," and then also hands him a vial of poison, saying, "Don't worry, it won't hurt you unless you rebel against me." And Crimson expects to just continue doing the speech while Ragna starts drinking in the middle of it. He does not have any hesitation, and they decide to join forces to defeat the Dragon God. This episode was nice. I would rate this a 7.5 out of 10. The 100 Girlfriends Who Really Love You, Episode 1. In this episode, we see Rentaro as he is given his 100th confession to a girl and been rejected. He later goes to a shrine for matchmaking and starts praying, and all of a sudden a god appears for the shrine and tells him, "Yeah, you haven't been able to find love yet, but you will find your soulmate soon. Well, he goes to school the next day and ends up crossing paths with two girls and gets a shock and realizes that they are both very pretty and that he wants to date them both. He ends up trying to help them up, but they claim to be injured, and he ends up having to walk them both to the nurse's office. On the way there, they hear a story about a four-leaf clover and how if you give it to the person you love, you are 100% going to end up in a relationship with them. So the two start running off, and, well, he's questioning how they're better all of a sudden, no longer injured. After school, we see that the two of them are digging around for a four-leaf clover. He goes out there and sees Inda, the blonde one, digging around in the flower bed trying to find a four-leaf clover. He hands her a drink, and Hanazono, the other girl, has gone off for a minute and she'll be back. He ends up getting confessed to by Hanazono while Inda is away, getting him a drink. And when she comes back, she ends up confessing to him as well. With both their confessions, he decides he needs some time to think about it. Goes and talks to the god over at the shrine and finds out that he's been given 100 soulmates on accident, and that if you do not get in a relationship with the soulmate, then because of how fortunate it is to have a soulmate, misfortune will follow instead and cause death to the people in the relation that should have been together. Well, he ends up the next day seeing them looking covered in dirt, telling them both that he wants both of them, and presents them both with a four-leaf clover, and they all end up in a relationship together. He now has 2 girlfriends out of the supposed 100, and I'm personally not too excited for this anime. I'm going to rate it a 6.5 out of 10, and I hope that it gets better next week's episode. Berserk of Gluttony, Episode 2. In this episode, we get to see Fate as he's rescuing a orphan from a kidnapper, and after getting her back, he realizes that he has not shopped for new clothes yet, as he is going to go work for Roxy, the Holy Knight. He ends up needing to go buy some new clothes the next day before going, and after arriving, he sees Roxy and she introduces him to her father. Her father is deceased, so we see his grave. And then a little bit later, Roxy finds out that Fate's dad is dead as well. She called him Faye as a nickname, which his father used to call him by. We get to see Fate pass out, as apparently Gluttony has gotten stronger now that he's started using it. He needs to now kill more regularly to increase his stats and prevent Gluttony from taking over. As he's going out to go hunt goblins, he realizes that he has better night vision. Some of his other skills have seemingly gone up too because of the increase in Gluttony as his eyes have turned red. So he goes out, kills some goblins, sees a king goblin, kills it as well, and then drops off all the goblin ears over at the orphanage so they can turn it in and get some money. He also has to feed his stats to his sword, agreed, so that it can gain a second form. This episode I would rate a 7.5 out of 10. Shangri-La Frontier Episode 2. In this episode, we get to see our protagonist Sunraku as he is fighting a boss snake monster on his way to the second town, and it poisons him during the battle. He has to kill it quickly and try to get into town. We get a scene with his school classmate there. She's looking around for him at the beginning and not finding him in the first town, so she tries to progress to the next town to find him. After he's dispatched the monster and realizing he has very little time left to get into the second town, Sunraku then dumps his points into agility and stamina, and just full sprint straight on in. Players see him approaching the town and says, "Hey, the inn is over there," as when the game first started, a lot of people had to run for the inn to get a respawn point. Well, after Sunraku dies and comes back, he ends up buying some new armor to wear, and he finds out that he can get better weapons if he goes and gets the material. So there he goes out to the little swamp to go collect some material, gets splashed mud from a frog in the swamp, and decides to go kill it. After he returns to the blacksmith and gets the weapons made, finding out they found a special item that can make a better weapon, he gets it, and after receiving the weapon, he then proceeds to go out, as he heard from the blacksmith, nighttime is dangerous, there are stronger monsters at night. He wants to go and test how much the game has for him. So as he's hunting around there, slaying some goblins or something, a unique monster appears, killing them all, and this unique monster, Lycagon, is seemingly very threatening. We see a scene with a computer screen showing unique monsters dispatched 0%. So in the whole time the game's been up, no one's killed any. Will Sunraku be able to kill this unique monster and be the first player, or fall to it like many probably have before? I would rate this episode an 8.5 out of 10. I found it quite enjoyable. I'm looking forward to next week.